Our next speaker, Toastmaster Thabo Abbate, will be presenting project number 10 from the Company Communication Manual, Inspire Your Audience. This will be Toastmaster Abbate's final project before earning his CC award. The title of his speech today is Ears Wide Open. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Toastmaster Abbate.
I want to start by asking everybody to think. Think back to a time when you felt like you had all of the answers. Think back to a success. Maybe it was getting that job, landing that promotion. Maybe it was catching the eye of that special someone for the very first time. Think back to a time when you were on top of the world. I remember a time when I was on top of the world. I woke up to a sunny morning in downtown Miami. I glanced at my phone to check the time. It was noon. Not bad, considering I'd gone to sleep only 6 hours prior. The Friday before, my friends and I had spent out the night dancing. We had a great time. Earlier in that week, I'd accomplished several key projects at work, and I'd been praised for a job well done. And even earlier in the week, my firm had reached out to me. They wanted to use me as an example in an article they were submitting to Fortune magazine. The article was about success and work-life balance in the corporate world. And I felt like I was on top of it. At the time, I was a little hungover, but still on top of the world nonetheless. I had all the answers. I walked downstairs to make myself some breakfast. And I know what you're thinking, but in Miami, noon is a perfectly acceptable time to eat breakfast. Don't judge me. I opened my fridge, and I ran into my first setback of the day. No food. No problem. I've got all the answers. I live across the street from a Publix, so off I went to the grocery store. I walked downstairs, and I was crossing the street, and that's when I saw her. Well, first, I saw the book. Now, this green book might not mean anything to anyone here. But to me, this green book means a whole lot. This is a CPA exam review book. I'm a new CPA. When I look at this book, I think of the year plus of late nights. I think of the struggle. I think of the mental exhaustion. I think of everything that I had to go through to get my designation. When I look at this book, it means a lot. And I saw her walking across the street, looking terribly sad and carrying this book. But because I knew this book, I knew exactly why she was sad. I knew exactly what she was going through. Remember, I had all the answers. By the time she got up to me, I didn't even take the time to say hello. When's your exam? She froze. When's your exam? I'm a CPA, and I couldn't help but notice your book. She looked at me, and then she told me that she had just taken one of the sections earlier that day. Well, my first thought was, there's another 3 sections I can give her advice on. But then I thought to ask a question. How'd it go? And then she looked at me, and tears started to well up in her eye. She told me that it was the 3rd time she'd had to take the same section. She told me that she wasn't a native English speaker, and that because of it, her prep courses were taking twice as long as all of her peers. She was struggling. She was giving up things in her personal life. She was sacrificing career opportunities. This exam was actually ruining her life. And then she just burst into tears. And as I stood there, I got this feeling like I came crashing down from that place where I was before, sitting on top of the world. And I realized at that moment, I didn't have any of the answers. So I did the only thing that I could think to do. I walked up to this stranger and I gave her a hug. And the two of us stood there in the street and she cried on my shoulders. It was surreal. I didn't say anything. I just sat there and listened. And she let it all out. And after she was done, I gave her a smile and the best words of encouragement that I could think of. And then she looked at me and she smiled back. And she said, "Thank you for the hug. And thank you for listening." And then she left. And she took her green book with her. And it got me thinking. As you get to know me, you'll realize I love to speak. I love people, and I love speaking and giving advice to people to help them. But something changed in my heart that day in the middle of the street on my way to Publix. I realized that when someone's down, they don't need a CPA or a speaker or some expert that has all the answers. When someone's down like that, the first thing they need is for somebody to listen to them. I think that author Stephen Covey put it best when he said the most important habit in communication is seeking first to understand and then to be understood. Behind survival, being understood and accepted is the most important human need we have. Covey goes on to say that there's really only 4 ways of communication. There's reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Anyone here with a basic education has spent years of their life learning how to read and write. Look around you. All of us are here practicing how to speak. But how often is it that we take the time to practice the one that's the most important? How to listen. As I look back and I think about that encounter, I wonder, who walked away better off? Was it the girl for getting that off her chest? Or was it me for that epiphany? I suppose that it really doesn't matter, does it? My point is this. Everywhere you look, there's people hurting. There's people out there who need someone to listen to them. And when somebody comes to you and they're hurting and they open up to you, the first thing you should do is keep quiet. When someone comes to you, don't give them your advice. Don't give them your opinions. Don't tell them about how you did X, Y, Z and how it worked out great for you, at least at first. The first thing someone needs is to be listened to. The first thing someone needs is to be understood. Listening is tough. And the funny thing is, the more good things you have to say, the more good information you have to help someone, sometimes the harder it is to take the time to listen. Listening is not easy, and it's not quick. But the good thing is that you don't need to have all the answers to listen to somebody who needs you. Madam Toastmaster.